Welcome to the Deep Dive tailor-made for you. We are tackling one of the biggest, most fundamental financial questions out there, especially for ambitious people coming from, a stable middle-class background. The question is, how do you achieve true, transformative, maybe even generational wealth?
And our sources for this, which come from a really detailed video analysis, they argue against the conventional wisdom.
The stuff we all grew up with.
Exactly. That advice you hear in so many families. Study hard, get a great job, maybe go for that top-tier MBA and just climb the corporate ladder.
That's the blueprint, right? The safe, predictable path, the one that's supposed to guarantee success.
Yeah.
But the source here makes a really provocative claim.
It's a huge claim, and that's our mission for this deep dive, to really analyze their assertion that the traditional job path, it just does not lead to what they call Asli Amiri.
Which means what, exactly?
It translates roughly to real wealth or true prosperity. So we're going to dissect the mindset shift they say is required, dig into their very specific definition of wealth, and then map out the blueprint they propose for building exponential income. And that means entrepreneurship.
Okay, let's unpack that first part. Because before we get to the solution, the source is really clear about what true wealth isn't.
Yeah, this is key. It's not what they call show-off wealth.
We all know someone like that. You see the expensive car, but you find out it was bought with a massive loan, tiny down payment.
Right, or the huge house that's 90% financed by the bank. They argue that's not wealth. It's a display. It's a trap that locks you into just servicing debt for decades.
The illusion of wealth.
That's the perfect phrase for it. So Asli Amiri, they insist, isn't defined by what you own, but by your security. And they measure it with a super strict financial ratio.
Okay.
The income to expense ratio. True wealth, they say, is when your total monthly expenses are a maximum of 10% of your income.
10%. Wow. That sounds almost impossible for most people, especially if you're living in a big city.
It is a radical standard.
So is the idea just to drastically cut your expenses, live on nothing?
Not really. The source isn't so focused on cutting expenses down to the bone. It's more about exploding the income side of the equation.
Ah, okay.
The idea is to multiply your income so much that your normal expenses naturally fall below that 10% mark. If you earn, say, 1 lakh a month, your budget is 10,000. But if you can get your income to 10 lakh...
then your budget is 1 lakh, which is a very comfortable life for most people.
Exactly. That 10% rule is what buys you freedom. It leaves 90% left over for investing, for growth, for building a real buffer against the world.
That completely reframes what being rich even means. It's not about what you spend. It's about what you don't have to spend. It's about control.
Right.
But that brings us to the big question. Why does that high-paying, high-achieving job path, why does it fail to get you to this 10-to-1 ratio?
Right.
We're always told a great salary is the key.
The main issue, the systemic problem, is that income growth from a job is, it's gradual. The source uses the term dear slowly.
It's incremental. You might get a 10, maybe 20% raise a year if you're an absolute superstar.
Precisely. But at the same time, your lifestyle expenses are also rising. Naturally, that's the trap of lifestyle creep.
Oh, I think everyone can relate to that. The second you get a raise, you think, okay, I can finally afford a better apartment.
Or I can take a cab instead of the metro.
Yeah, you upgrade your rent, you start eating out at nicer places. You go from the 500 rupee spot to the 2,000 rupee one without even thinking about it.
And the math just doesn't work out. The source analyzes a best-case scenario. A brilliant person, top college, starts at, say, a 1 lakh per month salary.
Sounds great.
It does. But after rent in a major city, food, utilities, they might only save 20 or 30,000 rupees. They're nowhere near that 10-to-1 ratio, maybe 3-to-1 if they're lucky.
Okay, but I have to push back on the source a little here. What about jobs like, high commission sales? Or specialized surgeons, or investment bankers? Those careers can grow incredibly fast.
They do acknowledge those outliers for sure, but they frame them as the exceptions that prove the rule. Getting to that absolute pinnacle, becoming a Satya Nadella or a Sundar Pichai, it takes, incredible luck, resources, intense sacrifice.
And there's only one CEO.
There's only one CEO. For the other 99.9% of people in corporate life, that incremental growth is just too slow to ever outpace the relentless effect of lifestyle creep.
So the verdict from the source is clear. To get that real security, that 10-to-1 ratio, your income has to jump exponentially, not gradually.
Right. While your lifestyle only inches up, and a job for almost everyone just can't provide that kind of exponential leap.
Which leads us directly to the mindset shift.
Yep. If the diagnosis is that the old path is too slow, the prescription has to be radical. It's about doing what they call the tough things.
And this is where it gets into a bit of a cultural critique, isn't it? The source suggests that in many middle-class cultures, there's this pull towards the easy things.
It's a really fascinating insight. They kind of link it to the high level of parental care, where children might live at home well past 18, and they're sheltered from the really harsh financial pressures.
Like paying rent or bills on your own from day one.
Exactly. And that system, which is wonderful in so many ways, can kind of inadvertently train us to seek comfort and avoid the really difficult path.
And that avoidance, that's the real enemy of this exponential growth we're talking about.
That's the core argument. To get anything exceptional, amazing health, a great partner, real financial freedom, you have to be willing to be exceptional, to do the hard work that 99.9% of people will just actively avoid.
Because it's hard.
Because it's hard. And the toughest thing in this context is the opposite of the predictable job. It's starting a business. Business karma. They basically challenge the listener. Find another way. The evidence, they say, just points to entrepreneurship as the only truly accessible path to this kind of wealth.
So, okay, if business is the answer, where on earth do you start? What's the blueprint?
Well, the first piece of advice is to look inward. Don't just copy what the speaker in the video does. Focus on you.
On what you're actually interested in.
Yes. Because if you're not genuinely interested, you won't have the fuel to get through the tough times. And there will be tough times. They say, ask yourself, what inspires you? What kind of businesses do you find yourself reading about just for fun?
And they give some really current examples, right?
They do, like cloud kitchens, selling food through platforms like Swiggy or Zomato, or content creation, building a brand on YouTube or Instagram or LinkedIn.
Or what about those DTC brands you see on shows like Shark Tank?
Exactly, direct to consumer, selling stuff online without a middleman. Their point is that you can make money in almost any sector as long as you have that genuine interest and the drive.
Okay, so you pick your field. What's next? The source talks about what they call the absolute shortcut to success.
A mentor. They say this is non-negotiable if you want speed.
You have to learn from someone who's already made all the mistakes.
All the expensive, time-consuming mistakes, and they're clear. This doesn't mean you have to go knock on someone's door right away. Mentorship can be virtual.
How so?
It means just diving deep, consuming YouTube content, reading books, signing up for email newsletters from someone who is actually succeeding in the field you want to enter.
But there's a huge catch here, right? Verification.
Oh, this is critical. You have to make sure this person is legit, that they're actually running the business they talk about, not just making all their money from selling courses about how to run the business.
That's a huge distinction.
It's everything. The source even gives a personal story. Using a mentor for an e-commerce business led them to 90 lakhs in revenue in just 2 months.
90 lakhs in 2 months.
And over 7 crore in the first year. Now, you asked earlier about luck, and while timing is always a factor, they present this as a formula. One that works if you nail the next step.
Which is dissecting the business like a surgeon.
This is the tactical heart of it all. You have to break the business down into its core parts, its verticals, and then master them one by one.
And what are those verticals?
The basics. Product or service, marketing, sales, customer service, operations, hiring, and branding.
But they say you have to prioritize. You can't do it all at once.
No, and their prioritization is absolute. When you are just starting out, the single most important thing, the only thing that really matters, is sales.
Cash flow.
You have to get cash in the door. You have to generate profit. Everything else without sales is just a hobby.
Okay, let's make this real with their example, the Vedapov Cloud Kitchen. How do you dissect that?
You start with what they call deep-level unit economics.
Meaning you have to know what every single little thing costs.
To the paisa. You figure out the exact cost of the bun, the potato tiki, the special masala, the plastic container it goes in, even the commission the delivery platform takes.
I see. So you might think you have a good margin, but you're missing something.
Exactly. Let's say your total cost is 25 rupees and you sell it for 80. Looks great. But then you realize the fancy packaging alone costs 15 rupees. If you can find simpler packaging that only costs 5, you've just added 10 rupees of pure profit to every single sale.
Without even raising your price. And that little change, multiplied hundreds or thousands of times, is where the exponential growth starts.
That's the engine. Once you master the product cost, you dissect marketing and sales. How do you get to the top of the search results on Zomato?
It's a whole science. Studying competitors, managing reviews, using the right keywords in your restaurant name.
Right. It's not just about making good vada pav, it's about being seen. Then you grow. You perfect the vada pav, and then you add a high-margin item to go with it, like a shikanji.
And they make a great point about how the problems change as you scale.
They really do. Getting to 1 lakh a month is a sales problem. But getting to 1 crore a month, that's an operations and team problem. Hitting 10 crores is a leadership problem. You can't use the same thinking at each stage.
So let's say you do all this. The business is working, the exponential money is coming in. The job isn't done.
Not even close. Now the really hard work of discipline begins, because remember, the goal is to feel secure and free, not to prove to your neighbors how successful you are.
This brings us right back to that 10% rule and financial discipline.
Right back to it. You have to live below your means. And they have this fantastic question you should ask before any big, non-essential purchase.
What's that?
Am I buying this for myself, or am I buying it to show the world? If the answer is to show the world, just don't buy it. That purchase is actively working against the security you fought so hard for.
It's about protecting the capital you've built.
And that includes insurance. For everything. Car, home, family health. The goal is that if a disaster happens, you never, ever have to touch your investment capital to solve it. Insurance handles the emergency.
Okay, so you're disciplined, you're insured. Now you have this growing pile of money, that 90%. What do you do with it?
You have to put it to work. The source suggests starting simple. Mutual funds, stocks, but only if you actually take the time to understand them.
They mentioned SIPs, right? Systematic investment plans.
Yeah, as a kind of low-friction way to start investing regularly. And they also point out that you need to diversify. They noted gold, for instance, had a fantastic return last year, sometimes even better than the stock market.
Spreading the risk.
But the big warning is, never invest blindly. Don't just tap a button on an app because it tells you to. They strongly recommend talking to a real financial advisor to understand what you're actually putting your money into before you even think about more advanced stuff like real estate or crypto.
And the final piece of this whole puzzle, the principle that ties it all together, is focus.
Sticking to one thing. The grass isn't greener on the other side. As they put it, the grass is greenest where you water it.
Give your chosen business at least 6 months of just relentless, focused effort. That patience, that persistence, maybe that's the ultimate tough thing.
So if you put it all together, we've covered the formula they propose. Reject the slow, gradual drop path, start a business, get a mentor to speed things up, dissect that business to optimize every piece of it.
Invest wisely, and never, ever use your money just for show. Use it to buy security, safety, and freedom.
The biggest shift is mental. It's moving from that easy, predictable path to the tough, exponential one. But if you're ready to do the hard things, they argue the blueprint is there.